What's up, Dallas? It's your girl Rachel. We are back with another episode for season 7. I have Felipe Rodriguez here today. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. I would like to really just tell the viewers you have quite a story behind your book that you have. But for all of the viewers out there, can you tell them a little bit about you, Felipe?
I'm a U.S. Marine Corps veteran. Um, I was on dialysis for a little less than 4 years. I'm a father of two. This is my third book, and every one of them's it's been about my tribulations and just struggles that I've been through life. But luckily, I've always been around good people, strong-minded. I guess you can go to the old saying, if you're around a circle of good people, eventually they'll influence you to be better. Grew up in a small town called Salina, Texas, just north of Frisco, and that was the town back then, and I believe it still is full of winners.
So, you know the area very well. And, I like to feature people that are in DFW that are making an impact on the community and also have a positive message to bring. But for our viewers out there, can you please talk about this amazing book that you have?
Forged Ready. So I had a second book called The Ready Method. When I first wrote The Ready Method, I really wrote it more of in a corporate mindset to which is 5 principles: responsibility, effort, adaptability, discipline, your standard. Um, and it goes back to the character of an individual. Um, I've read other books like the 10X. I've read like books by Maxwell, but I've learned that they're more external leadership laws or principles. But when I read those and I shared them with other people, they still had a problem getting better, you know?
Mm.
And I always try to think of a story because I honestly was a personal trainer for 20 something years. When I first got out of the Marines, that was my mind thing. Um, Adapt, overcome. Let's just get the mission done. And fitness, I found was something that was a passion for me. I love watching people get results. But as a fitness trainer, I ended up noticing I became kind of a therapist. 'Cause
Mm.
everybody had a problem, and that's when people come see, like I got to lose weight, or my self esteem is low, or things like that. And I always felt like I was giving people advice, but I never wanted to give people advice through my stories because I didn't want to feel like I overcame that, so you'll be able to overcome that. I always like to tell stories. Everybody
Mm.
that's ever talked to me knows me as this great storyteller. And when I tell people stories, they tell me, man, they should make a movie about that. So the Ready Method, and I use it through fitness. I use it through the military. I even use it through leadership by teaching others, such as a father teaching their son or daughter. Um, and I'll use an example like how to use it like for children instead of scolding them or yelling at them. It's our job as a parent or mine as a father to teach my child that R is his responsibility, regardless of his nationality, regardless of his height, regardless of the color of his hair. It's up to him at the end of the day. And if he puts in a little bit of work, preferably more, he should be known at the best at whatever he does. And that's where E comes in. Just putting in a little bit of effort, you'd be surprised on the gains or the results that you'll see. And adaptability, well, we can all say life is not fair. I can clearly say that by me having a kidney transplant that back in my head I could blame whatever, but at the end of the day, nobody's going to sit in the dialysis chair for me. And I got to do that. So I had to
Mm.
adapt to certain things. And then, of course, discipline. That's the consistency of doing it over and over and over. And eventually, you'll be able to do it. All of those 4 principles creates your standard. Because whatever you
Mm.
accept in your life, that defines who you are. So even in a relationship, if you allow that guy to get away with not texting you, or get away with not pulling out your chair, or get away with certain things, you're allowing it. You're allowing that
Mm.
to be that becomes your new standard in the future. You'll continue to meet those guys, and meet that standard.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is very, very solid actually, responsibility, effort, adaptability. Those are great ways for people to be able to understand that there's no way to have results, especially if you don't do it yourself. Like a lot of people that I've talked to are just like, well, I'm stuck in this life because nobody helps me. Right. Or I'm stuck in this situation because nobody helps me. But I don't understand that their situation has to change first with what they do first. Right.
Correct.
hmm And, I think that's what a lot of people get stuck in life is because they're waiting for somebody to come rescue them or bring a boat by and try to fix everything for them. But for me, um, I have to go to the doctor, right? The doctor was telling me, "Hey, Rach, like you were really unhealthy and stuff. I really need you to fix this because, you're going to become diabetic if you don't change your diet, right?" And for me, I thought I was like, just a curvy, healthy girl, right? But I wasn't healthy on the inside. I looked healthy on the outside, but my inside was like screaming for help because my liver was starting to suffer. And the doctor told me, hey, Rach, you really gotta, fix your diet. You gotta cut back, the fatty foods, the fried foods, because your liver needs to function better. So I had to listen and I had to make that effort. I had to make that change. And I got results out of it without even doing much, but I still made the change. I changed my diet. I stayed disciplined. I did it for like, 10 months or something like that. And the results started dropping, like the weight just started dropping off, but my body started getting healthier. But I could not rely on somebody else to do it for me. I had to do it myself. And that's what I love about having discipline. When you start learning to discipline yourself, you can't call anybody else out for not helping you.
Not only that, like what you just said, we go back to that fitness, and that's what I love about it. And that's what helped me create the Ready method. It was just I used to always ask the people. It was always everybody knows me before they even ask the question. Right before I respond, like I know what you're gonna say. Did I eat right? Am I drinking water? Am I sleeping the correct amount of hours? Am I taking the sugar out of my diet? Am I doing all these things? I'm like, if you know this, then why don't you do it? And then
hmm
it goes back to when I used to manage these gyms when it first came to Texas called LA Fitness. And when I first got into management, one of my mentors would always ask me the same thing, like, "Hey, so and so showed up late. Like, okay, well, what can we do to change that? How can you coach him to be better?" So it was always that me being a better leadership. I had to come up with a creative way. I had to adapt into every employee was different. I couldn't teach everybody the same because management, I could be a Marine towards somebody, I could be a coach towards somebody, I could be an example for somebody. Everything had to change, so I had to adapt to it. It was my responsibility at the end of the day to lead these people into making more money and becoming better where they were at. So even through leadership, that ready method, you can use it basically in anything. You can use it in biblical terms. You could use it through work. You could use it through fitness. You can use it in relationship, even for children. So I've even come up
hmm
with a new one that I'm creating for. It's more of a workbook, but it's called the Ready Challenge. And part of the Ready Challenge is it's a 30-day challenge where those who have my book, it's basically 30 chapters, 29 stories, and you have the final chapter. They'll read one chapter, they'll go through 30 days of some sort of activity and 30 days of just eliminating like high sugar, carbohydrates. And they'll see results just by 30 days of reading something that'll help them, working out just a little bit, and of course, changing the way they eat.
hmm And there was something you said, like applying to like the workplace, the management team. You've worked for old school managers. I'm pretty sure I've worked for old school managers where they just basically expect everybody to be mechanically the same at work. Like, they're expecting everyone to be doing the same thing robotically and all that kind of stuff. But not everybody learns the same way. Not everybody is reachable the same way. When you were talking about talking to people different, managing them different. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so like, and I just did a speech to these to a company that has supervisors in the maintenance field. And a lot of times, like they'll have painters, the people that installs the carpet, they'll have people that do the electrical. Well, a lot of the old school people still do a lot of those blue collar work, such as installing those things. But then there's a new generation that's not that get up and grind and didn't learn it from pops or grandpops because maybe they weren't around. But the manager maybe got promoted because he was probably there the longest, but nobody actually took the responsibility of teaching him everything that should have been taught. So a lot of times from management down, they need to figure out, okay, I've got a veteran employee here and I've got a new guy. So I can't teach them both the same. I know with the
Mm-hmm.
veteran, I got to show him a little bit more respect because he's been in the game for 10 plus years. But the new
Mm-hmm.
guy, I know I got to coach him a little bit more. I got to be a little bit softer on him because I don't know where or what he learned. I can't have expectations without communication.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times we expect somebody to be a black belt in karate, but this is their first day in class.
Right.
Unless we ask him, like, how long have you been doing this? Then he can, like, I learned it from the YMCA. Like, okay, let's start from the basics, buddy.
Yeah, that's a great description of that too, because you can't expect everybody to be on the same level when they work for a company. For me, I worked in the restaurant industry for a really long time. I have learned that a lot of people, some are readers, some are watchers, some are doers. And when you're training people, you have to see how they learn. So they used to give us a quiz
Mhm.
to kind of like help us see how that person's going to learn the best. So if I know that you're a doer, I'm going to show you how to do things more and
Right.
explain in words less. Like I'm not going to expect you to read it. I'm going to expect you to do it. But if you're a reader and you like to have it visually in front of you, I'm going to know as your trainer that I have to write it down for you because this is going to be something you need to internalize mentally. But I'm still going to show you. It's just, it's kind of a way of them teaching us that you can't train people all the same. Especially nowadays, with the autism spectrums and things like that. Not everybody is right where they need to be. That is very true.
And you'd be surprised some of this young generation, even with technology nowadays, knows a little bit more than the veteran. The veteran's still up to this old school military guy still uses a compass versus the new guy can quickly do it on a GPS just because the old guy's used to paper and pencil, breaks out the map, shoots his azimuth with a compass, and all of a sudden he knows where to go. The new guy is going to have no idea what he's doing. He's going to hit those digits on his GPS and say, look, I'm going to follow the GPS. I have no idea how to read a map. I'm not good with land navigation around here.
They weren't from the Mapsco generation.
Right.
I just labeled my age there, guys. Okay. I'm really enjoying this conversation, by the way. I wish people would talk a little bit more about, teaching different and people learning different. But I really want to get into you really push for second chances. Like you're an advocate for second chances. So can you tell people why you're so passionate about that topic?
So when I was young, growing up, of course, in Salina, Texas, football was the thing back then. And I've never been tall, 5'5", maybe 5'4 3/4, sometimes on a good day. Um, I remember it was eighth grade. I was sitting in a huddle. I was knelt down. Coach had us after practice. We're all sitting. Sun was up. And the coach started giving us a speech because some of us just weren't putting in 100%. Some of us were grinding more than others. And I remember this speech to this day. He specifically used the word who says, okay? And he started looking around. He was just like, who says you can't be the best running back this town has ever seen? And who says you? And he looked right at me and we made eye contact and I'm looking at him listening to this speech. He said, who says you can't be the best middle linebacker this town has ever? And I guess because we were locked on, he knew I was listening. He said, who says you can't be the first Hispanic linebacker to break records on this football team? Who says that you can't do that? Who? Let me know. And I just looked at him and those words just hit me. And since that day, it was just like nobody can tell me or put a limit to what I can and can't do. Just because I've
Mhm.
never heard of them or seen them doesn't mean I can't be the first person to do that. So since that day, it was just like in that book. I don't remember it was the first or second chapter, but you never know who's around you and looks at you. You can be a great example by waking up and you go out for a jog, and the neighbors can see like, man, that guy really gets after it every day. And then all of a sudden, their kids are putting on their shoes, and you've got a whole running club of kids out there running with you because they saw you do it.
Mhm.
Just like when I train people, I always tell people you never know if you post this video and you say some affirmations, and today they may be laughing. 3 or 4 months from now, you don't know if that same person that laughed at you, I guarantee you they're going to be asking for advice. They're going to say, man, why'd you do it? Because you're out there and you're shining, you're setting that example, but at one time nobody believed in you. And if you believe in yourself, you'd be surprised how many people you can get to believe in you. It's like the movie Rocky. I love the movie Rocky. To me, it was just there's so many things you can learn from the movie Rocky. In Rocky 1, he doesn't win, but he wins the crowd because he gave the effort. He gave it everything he had, and he was just so happy he lasted all 12 rounds with the champ that the champ wants to fight him again in part two. And even in part two, he gives him and he wins just because, Paula Creed couldn't get up. And then we go into part three, we fights Mr. T, and Mick dies and he tells Adrian that I'm scared, you know, but she has that little bit of belief in him and it gets a spark under him and he goes out there and beats Mr. T. He adapted to this new fighting style. He started fighting with his left and his right, and he came out with all these things, but with that effort and he took the responsibility and all that, he ends up beating Mr. T. But I
Mhm.
love the Rocky series because it's just about a guy who was a nobody, thought he was going to be a sparring guy, and next thing you know, he's the champ of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the Rocky series too. I have all of them at my house. I just I believe that, when people when you beat all odds against you and you make a difference, I believe that speaks louder to people, especially um especially like the young folks, the ones that are actually watching you. So I'm like a big advocate for everything that I do and everything that I say. Some young kid is watching my show
Facts.
somewhere. I have a lot of youth kids that are watching my show, and if I breathe life into them, even though their parents may not, I feel like my message is valid. I feel like I believe in them. And if my message changes someone's perspective to let them know that they too have a voice, they too can overcome trauma, they too can, defeat all the odds against them, no matter where they came from, I believe my message is solid. And that's why I also believe that that's super, super important.
Yeah, you'd be surprised on the things that you can do. It's just so many people are watching, even your own parents, when they watch you go from this child who was sucking on her thumb to barely being able to walk. And then later you're running and you're going to school. And all of a sudden you make them proud. You create this legacy to that family, to they're just like, wow, there was something I said, or there was something I did that developed or created a standard in this child. Look at him go. Look at him.
Mm.
So,
Yeah, absolutely. And I do strongly believe in second chances too. I do believe that, if someone is breathe into a little bit differently, like say for instance, they didn't have somebody bring life into them. They didn't have somebody breathe words of affirmation, words of positivity, but you breathe that life into that child, that adult, that youth that is struggling, like you're breathing life into them. Because let's just say it, people that come from the south side of the tracks, they didn't live a life of comforts and pleasures nice things. They really had to struggle. I was one of those kids. So if somebody would tell me right now, hey, Rachel, I don't think your voice would matter if somebody would heard you or something, and then look at me now, like I know that second chances are there because even the smallest voice can change somebody's perspective big time. Hmm.
It reminds me of the other day I was having a conversation and I said, it reminds me of that book of the little engine that could. And I said, I don't know if they teach that anymore. Kids have to read it, but I remember that being one of my favorite books because I was that little engine. And I always believed I could. And every time I would do something, I was just like, I knew I could. I knew I could. I knew I
That's adorable.
could.
I love that. I love that. Believing in yourself is really important too. So I just wanted to tell our viewers, where can they get this book and your other books that you have?
Amazon.com. They've blessed me. They've helped me. It's so easy to publish things on there. And again, I didn't go to school for writing. I didn't go to school to publish. I don't know any of that, but Amazon was just so easy. I went on there. They gave me an IBS number. They published it, and I was just like, wow, okay. And that's another
Mm.
thing. I have a friend who's got a daughter who wants to become a book writer, and they went to college. And he told me the other day, because my daughter's so mad you've already written 3 books and you didn't go to college and you didn't do all the things that she did. And I said, man, here's the thing, and this is something I've always learned. And I preach this all the time. It's all about getting started. It doesn't matter what. I have done so many videos where I have failed at the beginning because I wanted people to feel what I feel. Don't be scared to fail because that's all part of the lesson. But then later on, they're like, wow, dude, you went from that to that. Like, geez, I remember you couldn't do a pull up or you couldn't even squat at the bar. And all of a sudden, you're 400-pound squatter. You're running this and you're lifting that and you're writing books and you're on a podcast today. What's going on here? What are you doing? Apparently, you're doing all the right things. I'm just ready, dude.
Yeah, that's it. You're just ready to handle whatever life throws your way. I love that. I really do. Like your whole mindset, you can clearly see that you are just adapting to whatever life throws at you. And I love that part. That's amazing. Thanks for being on my show.
I just can't. I can't. I don't like hearing people say I can't or no. You
Hmm.
can. You just haven't figured it out or you just don't want to.
That part. Sometimes they really just don't want to, for sure.
Right.
And you can't make them. You can't make them change. You can't push them. You can literally be like, "There's the water, but you gotta drink it." Like, but there it is. That's an analogy I like to use. That you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Mhm.
Same thing with people. Like you can't do what people have to do for themselves. And I also learned that myself. With my weight loss journey, my fitness journey. Just being a voice. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I stay ready too.
I always tell people another big thing about the ready method is if you stay positive, you'll be surprised on the outcome, on the opportunities, because chaos always starts at home. It starts within you. And if there's chaos in you, there'll be chaos everywhere. You'll take it to work, you'll take it to the store, you'll take it in anything that you do. But once you rebuild yourself, you take that responsibility, you put in a little work and you adapt to whatever is the new thing into developing the new you and you create that new standard, then you've won. You've beat the old you, you've become the new you. There's no more chaos, and now I can help others by getting rid of
Mhm.
that toxic chaos or negativity or whatever you want to call it, because that'll literally burn everybody in front of you.
Absolutely. Chaos is a monster. It is a big monster. It can stop you from everything that God has for you, for sure. So, for our viewers out there, can you please tell them where to find you on social media?
Social media, I think I'm everywhere. TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. I have a website called FelipeRodriguezSpeaks.com. Um, for those that want to book me for an event, for anything, for school, I have a lot of topics. That's just one of the books. And I did that book, and I did it in 29 stories. There's so much more, but these were the main ones that I thought that I could help people with, because I
Hmm.
know not one story will hit everybody, but if I can do 29, then at least one of them will hit somebody, or it'll hit somebody they know and they can talk to them about it or open up that subject with them. Like, hey, man, I know you're going through depression. Or I know you lost somebody. I was wondering if maybe, I don't know, I could be somebody you could talk to. Or I read this story about somebody else who went through it and they kind of, they made some changes, they overcame it. Um,
Hmm.
I remember when I was in dialysis, and I didn't know this because I'm such an optimist and I'm such a positive person through fitness and through everything. When I was on dialysis, I remember sitting in a room, in a dark room, and I didn't want to be around anybody. And I sat there.
Hmm.
Because there's a part of your mind that shuts down once you're in that spot. And when you're when you're in the dark and you're in a hole, it just shuts down. You can't think creatively. And it took a friend of mine to tell me that you need to get up and you need to get out because you're in that spot. And when she mentioned that word depression, I literally had to Google it and look it up. And I read all the symptoms I had. I was like, that's not me. Mm-mm. We're getting out of here. We're going out there. I got to show people. I preach the words. I tell everybody, get up, you can do it. And when it hit me, I sat there like, I'm scared, I'm weak. And I said, you know what? You got to start living what you're preaching. I get up there and show people you're stronger than what people are looking at. So that kind of helped me out.
Oh man, yeah, I struggled with depression too, a while back, but I kept telling myself that I was not going to let depression get to me. That wasn't me. That wasn't a part of my mentality. Because like you, I'm a very positive person. Like I like to bring the light to people. I like to be speaking life into people, but I didn't have people speaking life into me, which, I think a lot of people they take that for granted. So I was doing so much and my energy was going outward, 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 but I didn't have people returning it to me, or I was investing it in people who were just sucking it from me instead of
Mm-hmm.
returning it to me, which is also a learning lesson that I had learned too. But when I started shifting my focus from what people were going to do for me to what am I going to do to better myself and what kind of path does God have me on, like my vision has never been more clear after that. It was like, you got something powerful to say, sis, so you better get out there and go do it. And people are watching you. Even on my fitness journey, like my story, I told them that like 80% of my weight loss came from my diet. I had to change my diet. And the next time I went to my doctor, which was like 6 months later, I had lost 17 pounds and I didn't even realize it because I was just working.
Nice.
But I changed my diet. And he's like, well, you got a little bit more to go. You're still doing good. And I was like, I didn't even know I lost this much, but okay. But it just kept me going on that focus. I do 5 days in the gym, not heavy weights, not running, but I stay focused and disciplined, which has really, really
Mhm.
helped me up here big time, for sure.
Well, God didn't create us to quit.
Yeah, for
He
sure.
helped me stay ready, is what he did for me.
Hmm. Yeah, well, thank God for second chances, right, Felipe?
That's right.
Absolutely. Well, I do want to thank you for being guest on my show. I will encourage everyone to read this book as well. I know it's testimony of all the stuff you've gone through, but it's a powerful message in itself about you went through all this and now you see why you have to do what you do now. So, and I love that.
Thank
So,
thank you for having me on your show, man.
absolutely. For all of our viewers out there, this concludes this episode from What's Up Dallas. Please follow us on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. You got it. We will be out there spreading the good news for you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.